Hello, I'm Serena Khan and this is Quews News, our news, politics and current affairs show. We do have a very interesting show to say the least. The general elections took place this Friday and it was seen, as many of you already know, Labour took the win, with Keir Starmer becoming Prime Minister. I'm with my co-host, Kewa Okorodudu. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Serena, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about Labour winning. Did you think that was expected, especially with the current climate that we're in, or did you actually think that Conservative were going to win?
In looking at what's happened recently, I actually did believe that it was pointing towards a Labour victory, but nobody ever would have suspected that it was going to be such a massive majority or massive landslide victory as it's taken place recently this week. But in regards to the election, I did see everything pointing to a Labour landslide victory.
I think one of the most interesting points that we did see, especially in London, was such a surge in Labour voters. We do know that Conservative and Labour have both been quite predominantly taking place with many voters voting either or. But it's safe to say that Labour took such a sweep in London City. Was that a shock to you?
You know, it's profound because when you look at what's been happening recently, so many people are just fed up with the current situation politically. In fact, even a lot of people were very hesitant about voting because they just felt that voting is not really changing anything. So I think that the way things are at the moment, people just wanted to see change. People wanted to see change in regards to things that they wanted the government, current government, or the previous government that was there before to do, in regards to housing, in regards to the cost of living crisis, in regards to education, in regards to so many things. People just wanted to see those issues being tackled. So I think what's happened has pointed to all those issues that people wanted to see change. And also in regards to the votes, the way people have voted, I think it's shown that people are actually not happy at the moment with the current political voting system. And this has been a big turning point. This election has been a big turning point for the current parties at that moment to think about. Yeah.
I do think as well, as we was touching on the NHS within our programme, I do feel like with Keir Starmer, his wife working within the NHS and talking about changes, I do feel like hopefully there might be some amendments with the NHS. And I do think due to the current climate of the NHS, hopefully that might have persuaded some voters to vote for Keir Starmer. When you actually have somebody who is closely related to you, especially his wife working on the front line, I think it can definitely allow people to want to vote for somebody who might have that compassion to the NHS. You know, we did previously see Sunak talk about he would take his family to medical care rather than to wait in an NHS waiting list, which kind of could sway people to feel like he was very much out of touch. Touching upon Sunak, he did actually decide to leave and stand down as the leader of the Conservative Party. Jeremy Hunt, we also saw on the news, leaving Downing Street with his family. He did not say that he would be a Labour leader. He's actually a Conservative leader. He did actually decline the offer of even going to be a Conservative leader. We're not too sure who's actually going to go ahead and take Sunak's place, but do you have any ideas for who you think could, Kewa, who might be the Conservative leader, or do you feel like anyone can just go for it at this point?
Wow, at this precise time or this precise moment, it's wide open because so many people contending for that post within the Conservative Party. But senior Tory MPs and senior Tory leaders have said that they should push back against having a leadership contest because they believe that the MPs currently in the Conservative should prove themselves as opposition before going for the leadership post. But then others have said that maybe they should wait until the Conservative Conference Party, which is like an event that they have. So from there, they'll be able to discover who would be the right leader for the Conservative Party. But then there's another side that says that if they push for a leadership contest now, they still have not settled. So some are saying that if they push for a leader now, it would be better because of the threat coming from the Reform Party. So they believe that the sooner that they have a leader, they'll be able to counter the threat coming from the Reform Party. So there's quite different opposing views of who could be the next leader at the moment.
There is a lot of, opposing views on that. And also as well, so Suella Braverman came out on the election night after losing her party and apologised. I do feel like a lot of people did feel like it was a little too late. There were so many people, especially with how long Conservative were running for, that changes were needed to be made and this needed to be done and that needed to be done. But unfortunately, as we know, there's so many manifestos that Conservative didn't actually go ahead and do. And her apologising, I feel like, doesn't look good on the Labour Party. It doesn't look good on the Conservative Party, especially considering they lost as well. I think as well with that being said, talking a little bit about the Reform Party, Nigel Farage actually in fact did go ahead and get his first ever seat as a Reform leader, which I think is such an interesting one to talk about it. With the Reform Party, especially as it is, Kiwi, do you think it's like a shock that they would even get a Reform Party, especially with the current climate that we're in? Or do you think it was expected? Do you think a lot of people actually go ahead and have a lot of views similar-minded to someone like Nigel Farage? I mean, he did go ahead and say that he would do absolutely nothing for black people. It's out there on the internet, which I think is quite a bold statement to make. What's your opinion on that?
Well, when I look at Nigel Farage and I look at his history, Nigel Farage was part of the Brexit movement. He was a Brexiteer. So he's always been against anything to do with immigration. He's against anything to do with immigration. So it's not surprising that he would actually boldly come out and make a statement like that. But in regards to people even voting for Nigel Farage, I think once again it's come down to people just tired with the current political establishment, and they just want to see change, and they don't really mind where the change is coming from. They just want to see change. But it's given people like Nigel Farage a lot of opportunity to get his foot in the door.
I do feel like as well, people like Tommy Robinson, who we know has been like an EDL member, being somebody who backs the Reform Party, it just kind of put like quite an opinionated spin to it, like what type of people are actually voting for the Reform Party. I mean, when we look at the manifestos and that, like it can look a little bit like there's actually a big surge in what may be considered like quite a dangerous party, having some political authority. But I mean, on that, I think we've touched upon immigration and how important it is. And one of the things that I wanted to speak a little bit about is the Labour Party, actually, Shabnam Mood, who is a British politician for the Labour Party. She actually became a chancellor. She did take to her Twitter to say that it was the biggest honour of her life. Being a chancellor and a security state of justice as well is a position that she took. And one of the things that she also mentioned within her tweet was that she previously worked as a lawyer. So she feels like she has, a kind of sense of what it is to be somebody who stands up for justice and the deep challenges that many people face within the justice system, which was really good to see, especially her being a British Pakistani. Here at Quews News, we do definitely, as a British Pakistani establishment, we love to see people from our ethnic background, and as well as our own ethnic background, many other ethnic minorities making big changes. And hopefully we see more people who come from diverse backgrounds being part of these parties to help make political changes. Also, Kewe Korodudu, we did actually speak a little bit about Jeremy Corbyn and what previously in previous episodes of him actually being his own independent leader for Islington North. He did actually go ahead and win, which I honestly, it was the first thing that ever been done. So I know for many people it was a shock for many people, but shock in a good way, shock in a bad way. Would you say it was something that you actually believe that he could do, or did you think it was something that was quite out of reach at the time when he was putting himself out there? Because it only took him like literally around 4 weeks to build up that he was doing independently to go ahead and, be an independent member and kind of take himself aside from Labour, which he previously was, going for a Labour leader originally. What do you think about all of that?
Well, it's interesting, people must not forget that Jeremy Corbyn was an MP. He's been in Parliament since 1983. So he's not new to politics. So he's had a lot of experience, and he would have had a lot of backers from his constituency who would still believe in him and still back him. And also, previously, when he was an MP, he had a lot of support from young people as well when he was an MP. So with the experience that he's had from being an MP and from being a leader of the Labour Party, I believe those culminated together would have helped him be able to put together a campaign strong enough to campaign against the current political parties that were there. Now, in regards to whether it was a surprise, I think nobody was expecting him to run as an independent candidate, to tell you the truth. No one was expecting Nigel Farage even to come back either. So I believe that with Jeremy Corbyn winning and being successful, becoming an MP and winning so much seats as he did, we mustn't forget also that during the 2017 snap election that Theresa May called, she lost a lot of seats, and no one was expecting that from Jeremy Corbyn. So we must not underestimate his ability to be able to win seats. This is a man that's been in Parliament since 1983. That's a long time. That's a lot of experience. So he's got that behind him to use as ammunition.
Yeah, and even touching on Theresa May, when she did actually call the election, Jeremy Corbyn actually got more votes in that election than Keir Starmer does now, which is fascinating when you actually look at the statistics and the figures. And I think with Jeremy Corbyn, he does have quite a deep-rooted connection to Islington North. And I do feel like with social issues that are going on in the world right now, I feel like we do know him for being an advocate for the Palestine movement and a ceasefire. I do feel like that probably did help him a lot. I think a lot of people that have strong beliefs in the UK with a ceasefire and things like this, voting for someone like Jeremy Corbyn, if they're able to, was such a big thing for them. In regard to like the ceasefire and what's going on in Palestine, do you think that's an important manifesto that politicians should look into, or do you think they should just kind of take a little backseat towards it from your personal perspective, per se, with your own research?
I think it's important for politicians to look at it because it is a big issue at the moment, and it's not going to just go away by people turning a blind eye to it. It definitely needs to be looked at by all world leaders, or all politicians, should I say, regardless of whether they think they need to. Everybody who is in power or a politician needs to look at this, because this is regarding human lives. It's a big issue. It's a massive issue, and not just even with the Israeli-Palestine, even the issue that's going on with the, Ukraine and Russia. These are major issues that are affecting everybody, directly or indirectly. So, And just to regards to, you mentioned about Jeremy Corbyn, another thing I think also, Jeremy Corbyn also believed in the 2-child benefit cap, which I think is another thing. That's one of his policies that he really pushes for. And I think that would have also helped him in his campaigning, because he believes that the 2-child benefit cap should be scrapped, because he believes that's what's causing a lot of children to be in poverty at the moment. So I think that's a major talking point in regards to Jeremy Corbyn's campaigning and him running and being re-elected in his constituency.
I do feel like it does just show his perseverance within the political field, especially when he was a Labour leader. We did see like a lot of his party not really back him, and obviously he gave up his seat to be a Labour leader. For him to then go independent just shows how strongly he feels about politics, and for him, he's always stated that making a difference and helping the community is a big part for him. And I think it just shows that he really does actually connect with a lot of people, even though people in the political field might not have backed him. He even stated and said that there was actually an interview that he did, a message to Keir Starmer, and he went on to say that he didn't wish no bad to Keir Starmer. He just said that, Keir Starmer didn't believe that he could make it, and he just proved him wrong. And that was kind of his stance on it, which I think fair enough, fair play to him for, I guess, doing that. And just to finish off the show, we did want to leave a little bit of some facts. So Labour, Conservative and Lib Dems did take the majority of the seats. Labour leading with 412 seats, Conservatives 121 and the Lib Dems taking 71 seats. And this is our roundup of the elections. We will see you next week with some more updates regarding what's going on in the political and current affairs world. We thank you very much at Quews News. Thank you, Kewa Korodudu, for joining us as well.
Thank you so much, Serena, for having me as well.
And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you and take care.